What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Welcome back to the new episode of Stay Humble and Dangerous, the podcast. This is your host, Oscar, with Life After Deportation. And today's episode, guys, I'm going to go and bring you guys, like I said, back to memory lane and bring you guys a subject that hardly ever spoken about. You know what I mean? Few of us rarely ever, speak about this topic, but the reality of what does it really feel like being deported. You know what I mean? And as you can hear, my voice is a little shaky because, still to this day, even though I've been deported for the past 11 years, it's still a shaky subject to me, to be honest with you. And we're going to get on to that, all right? So let's go ahead and check it out, guys. Without further ado, let's go. Welcome back. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for new subscribers. Thank you guys for signing up. Thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate you guys a lot. And thanks for the good comments you guys been giving us. I appreciate that, all right, guys? I may not get back to all the comments right away, but I read your comments and I do appreciate you guys' comments and feedback, all right? So anyways, guys, welcome back to another episode of Stay Humble and Dangerous, the podcast. So what it is to really be deported, Like I was saying, a little background, I've been deported for the past 11 years. And my first day being deported, getting off that Greyhound with my nephew, I was deported. Well, my whole entire family was deported. My mom, my two brothers, and myself. Day one, when I was deported back in December 18, 2011. This happened, a little more background. This happened while my wife birthed to my baby boy, our second baby boy. And fortunately, he had passed away at the hospital. And as repercussion, I was deported after that. It wasn't easy. Right from the start, it wasn't easy for... I knew I was going to get deported because my mom, my brother had just recently got deported. And, it was just a matter of time until they caught on to us, After the passing of our newborn son, I get a phone call at the hospital that I have an order of deportation. And as soon as I come out of the hospital, that I'm going to go ahead and be deported. All right, cool. What are you going to do? You got to face the music. Either you run or you fight. You know what I mean? And I wasn't going to run. You know what I mean? I'm not a runner. And I just talked to my wife and I was like, hey, baby, go check it out. I know we just lost our baby and I have an order of deportation, but, let me talk to them and see what we can do, what we can arrange. We got an attorney, an attorney represented me, was able to buy me an extra 2 weeks to stay in the States while we arranged the funeral for my son. We handled the affairs, we handled the funeral, and mind you, I still gotta settle the household, my mom's household, my brother's household, because they were deported. And then I had to settle my household, make sure that my wife is gonna be in good hands, that she's gonna be able to pay the rent, that she had a place to go. We also had another son. He was about 1 year old during that time, and then my other two kids. So it's right from the start. I had it rough. I had to shuffle a lot of hands at once. I had to do the funeral arrangements for my son, handle the affairs for my mom's house. Handled the houses, basically clean up the houses that were recently deported. So I had to, clean other houses, try to get as much money as I could, selling the furniture, selling whatever valuable items they had. Giving the apartment back to the landlord, getting some of the deposit back, just basically trying to get all the money I can get so we can bring it back into Mexico, I was able to go with the attorney. I was able to buy myself 2 weeks with a representation of an attorney. And I had an ankle monitor during the time. It was part of the bail that I had, the immigration bail. It wasn't really an immigration bail that I had. It was just a word of mouth that I had with the immigration officer. And I had an ankle monitor during that time. So I was blessed to stay a couple weeks. I had to leave by December 18th, which was my son's birthday at that time. He was barely turning 1. And I remember that day, I was like, hey, baby girl, so this is what we're going to do, all right? We're going to go and celebrate his birthday, late evening, like around 6 p.m. And it's just going to be us. If you want to invite some close friends, go ahead. But it's just going to be us. I just want some family time, Just try to be normal without knowing what's going to happen. You know what I mean? That same night that we had the little birthday party, we went to this pizza parlor over in Bakersfield, Johnson Curl Pizza. So, it was a cool school spot, pizza parlor. Pizza buffet. It was a bomb. It was good. It was really good. But anyways, that was my last meal in the States, actually. Pizza. That was my last meal. And now that I think about it, it's like, wow, pizza was my last meal. Johnson Curl Pizza was actually my last meal before I got deported. Well, before I left, I voluntarily left. Okay, I had an order of deportation, but I voluntarily left because I was given the option to either leave during that time before December 18th, and if I didn't leave during that time, then they were gonna come get me, right? So I was able to work the voluntary deportation with the officer without seeing the judge. Everything was on paperwork. December 18th, finish the birthday party, go home to our apartment, and we're like, all right, this is it, baby girl. 11 p.m. comes. I was like, you gotta drop me off at the Greyhound station. She goes and drops me off at the Greyhound station. Me, my kids, our older 2 kids, and my 1-year-old son, and my grieving wife. You know, drops me off at the Greyhound. I actually had my nephew too. My nephew was around 5. I would say it was about 6, 7 years old. My nephew was about 6, 7 years old. I had custody of him during that time because my brother was already deported. My younger brother was already deported, so I had temporary custody of my nephew. So it was just me and him rolling. He's a U.S. citizen. You know, he didn't get deported, but ultimately, he's my brother's son, so he followed along. You know, that has to do what that has to do. You know, so it's just me and my nephew. We're in the Greyhound. My wife drops us off. I wait for the ticket. Get in the Greyhound bus. Text my wife, you know, we're just texting on, right? Texting each other along the way like nothing, you know what I mean? Like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. No time to grieve, no time to grieve our newborn son's passing. No time to grieve, my mom and my brother's being deported. No time to grieve me leaving my family behind. You know what I mean? None of that. Why? Because you have to keep moving, and that's what I mean. You gotta take life, take those hits to the chin and keep on moving. You know what I mean? That's what you gotta do. What you're gonna do, you can't give up. You gotta just keep moving forward. So all this stuff is going on. I'm in the Greyhound. We make it to the next stop. 4 or 5 hours later, we make it to LA. From Bakersfield to LA, we go to another stop, and I'm like, have to board another Greyhound bus. We get off the bus. We had to go ahead and wait in the lobby for about an hour, and we had to hop into another Greyhound bus because there was a little departure. We gotta switch buses along the way. While I was that 1 hour in the lobby, man, I was just thinking, fighting with myself. Man, let me just run. I'm in LA. Let me just run. They ain't never gonna find me. I'm just gonna run, And I was like this close to telling my wife, hey, baby girl, you know what? I'm just gonna wait here at the Greyhound, come pick me up. But I was like, nah, I already talked about this. We already made the decision that we're gonna go and touch down. I'm gonna go get deported, do the right thing, and we're gonna make our family work, and we're gonna be together. Let me just touch down in Mexico. Let me see how the situation is. Let me test the waters, and if it's bad, then I'll find my way back. You know what I mean? Some way, somehow. So yeah, so those were the thoughts. Before I part into the second Greyhound bus, I was thinking about running and going back, but I was like, nah, I'm just gonna stick through it. So, and this was around midnight. It was already like 4 a.m, and so we hop in the bus. We go on the second bus, and we're already in the way. We hit Oceanside, we hit San Diego, and then the bus driver said, all right, guys, we're gonna hit Tijuana right now. Press that green button. He asked one of the passengers who wanted to volunteer to press that button, because if you press that button, you get a red, we get searched by the soldiers. If we press green, we're all free to go. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's random, And I didn't care. I was like, I took off my ankle monitor on the bus, took it off, threw it in the trash can. I was like, I ain't gonna need this. You know what I mean? I kind of do regret doing that, but then again, what you gonna do? You can't take it back. I was young and dumb. I cut my ankle bracelet, dumped it in the trash, whatever. It is what it is. All right. I make it to Tijuana. We get dropped off at the airport. I get off with my luggage. Me and my nephew, my older brother is already there waiting for me. We take a taxi. It's right up the top. As soon as I get out the Greyhound bus, and I go to the little lobby where you meet all the people there, and there's taxis, buses, drop off, and then I see my brother, and I just see a lot of movement. I was like, man, there's a lot of movement around here. It's like Okay, maybe because it's the airport, there's, slash bus station, so there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of people on the go, just, busy, busy, busy. I mean, mind you, I came from Bakersfield. Bakersfield's like a little country, you know what I mean? It's like the countryside. Imagine now, it's more overpopulated, but back then, you got tumbleweeds, you know what I mean, rolling through the freeway. I was, culture shock, city shock. I was like, man, why is that? And mind you, I lived in LA before. I lived in LA for about 15 years. So no, yeah, about 15 years. So I was used to that, riding the bus, public transportation, walking everywhere, being overpopulated, so I was kind of used to that already, But this was different. I get off the bus, I meet up with my brother, and I was like, all right, man, here I am. Where we go to next? What's going on? Talk to me. My brother and my mom were actually homeless for that time that they were deported. For the time they were deported all the way to I got deported. They were homeless. They were from shelter to shelter. Some days they had shelter, some days they didn't have shelter, and they had it rough, really, really rough, And when I got here, I was with the feria. I was the one with the money because I had, managed their household. I had sold the items, got the deposit back, so I came back with some feria, some money, and the whole game plan was to get an apartment, furnish it, get to know the vicinity, get to see how everything is, find a job, and see how life is. That was my game plan. And like I said, I told my wife, let me touch down, let me see how everything is, and then I'll send for you. Why I'm gonna let you be over there by yourself? You know what I mean? And be here. We're married for a reason. We're a family. Not luckily, but I'm blessed that I have a tough wife and a very, very stubborn but loyal and dedicated wife that she keeps up with the boy, and I don't know how she does it, but she supports me in every way. But yeah, big ups once again to the beautiful wife for always being strong. You know what I mean? Appreciate that. Anyways, like I said, behind every strong man there's a stronger woman. That's true. So I make it, and I was like, all right, brother, so what's up? Where's the apartment? Let's go look at the apartment. Where's it at? How much is it? And he's like, all right, look, man, it's I believe it was like $285 during that time. It was a two-bedroom. It was a two-bedroom apartment, and it was about $285, almost like $300, right? And it was all included. The water was included, the electricity wasn't included, and the gas wasn't included. It wasn't furnished either. So we go, we talk to the lady. There's no contracts. We don't have no IDs. Well, the California IDs that we had, whatever IDs we had, we didn't have no Mexican paperwork, put it that way. And the lady knows how, my mom talked to them. It's like, hey, we just got deported. My son's coming down here. We're going to go ahead and, pay the first month rent, the deposit. We worked it out. We got a little contract, word of mouth contract, I should say. The first night there, actually, the first day, because I got there like around 8 in the morning. We got the apartment like at 9 in the morning. We haven't eaten anything. We met up with my mom, my brothers, and we went to go get the apartment. Boom, we get it, right? Then we go to her shelter where my mom was staying, because she was staying at an old woman's shelter. We go get her luggages, her clothes. That's all she had, you know what I mean? And we go back to her apartment, and we get a couple blankets. I brought some blankets too, because my mom said it was cold. It was during December, so I brought a few blankets, but there was only so much blankets I could take in the Greyhound. And that one, we went to eat the first meal that I actually had in TJ was not tacos. It was not tacos. I don't know if you guys could guess it, but it was teriyaki from La Postal. That was my first meal in Tijuana. The way I ordered it too, like, and this is another thing. People can tell right off the back when you're deported, when you're a pocho, when, because you don't barely speak Spanish or the slang, you know what I mean? So I go and I told the lady, hey, there says 2-for-1 special, right? But it says promo. Promo is promotion, whatever. But to me, in the American way, it's a special, a 2-for-1 special, right? So I told her, hey, dame el 2-por-1 especial. But the especial is actually another type of dish, a special dish. So she's like, no, ¿quieres la promo? And I was like, no, I don't want no promotion, I was like, what are you talking about? I got my food. I got 2 for 1 promo, and it was chicken teriyaki. That was so fired. I was like, oh, and it was like 2 for $5, 2 for like 110 pesos, 2 for $5. I was like, oh, I can eat here all day long. Yeah, baby. I was like, food's cheap. And then my sister was with us as well because she came down. She helped us out. She supported us as well through the whole deportation process because she was already living in Mexico for years. Not in TJ, in a different state in Mexico. She was, she's been in Mexico longer than us. She loves Mexico. Well, we get acquaintance, the paperwork, the lingo, etc. You know what I mean? So anyways, we get the apartment. The first night there was the coldest night ever. It was so cold that this apartment, right? Like I told you, I had a few blankets. We had no furniture. It was all tile, no curtains. So the room that I was staying at, because it was a 2-bedroom apartment, I stood in a room in the back, and they had a closet, like a little sliding closet. And it was so cold that I actually went inside the closet. I had my jacket on, I had a blanket on, even my jeans on, and it was so cold. And I remember I was just trembling inside the closet because I was trying to get warm, but I was sleeping on the floor. It was tile, you know what I mean? So I could just imagine my mom, you know what I mean? Her probably trembling, So I get the first night over, couldn't sleep, But anyways, fell asleep, the first night, coldest night ever. That was by far the coldest night. The same morning that I got up, I decided I can't do this. I cannot do this. I had to do something about it, right? First things first, I had to get my paperwork right. I had to get my ID. I had to get my social security number. I need to get my curo. I need to get my birth certificate. Because again, I'm Mexican as Mexican can be, but I ain't got no paperwork. You know what I mean? So I start, with baby steps. I started getting my cur, things that you could get online. You know what I mean? I started getting my birth certificate online. I was able to get my ID, my INE. Once I got my INE, I was able to get my driver's license, and then I got my social security number, and then I got my cur, all that stuff, all that stuff that you can get online, my RFC and all that stuff. Now that your boy got his paperwork right, now I feel like I'm true Mexican because now I got my INE, you know what I mean? And I don't got no fake ID no more from California. So I'm like, man, I'm legit now. So what's stopping me? I was like, what's stopping me now? I got my paperwork. I got the apartment for my mom. I got a family to take care of. I need to look for a job. Like what time it is. It is what it is. I gotta handle it, right? I gotta do what I gotta do. It's like, all right, man, it's time to look for a job. I was like, I gotta go. I started looking for the job. I started looking for work. I got out of my house. I live in a busy intersection, busy street. So I was like, just a couple mechanic shops around there. So I go and I was like, hey, I have experience in being a mechanic. I used to have my own little mechanic experience. I used to work at a, G Louvre. I used to have my own little roadside assistance on wheels, and I work for AutoZone. So I was like, I got some knowledgeable background. I'm gonna get hired. You know what I mean? And I went to mechanic shop and like, no, we ain't hiring right now. It's like, and it's kind of hard to trust people. Because then they steal your tools, and I was like, dude, I'm here to work, man. And that's one of the things. I was like, man, I'm being judged because of my tattoos. I'm being judged because I said I was deported. Just because I'm a deported doesn't mean I'm a bad guy. You know what I mean? I'm not a bad hombre just because I'm deported, and just like many of us, just because we're deported doesn't mean we're bad, but that was the misconception. That's basically the stereotyping that we get, the ones you're deported, you're a bad hombre, So I was like, all right, cool, don't even trip, whatever. Move on. Take the hit, take it on the chin, move on. Go to the gas station. I noticed the gas stations here had a gas station attendants. So I was like, there's a gas station that have an oil change bay. Let me start somewhere and then I can work my way in there, Talking gets you in far places. Speaking right gets you gets you to the right places. So I go and ask this, gas station attendant. I was like, hey man, I'm looking for a job, man. Where do I apply? And he's like, no, aquí no agarra nadie. Aquí, si tienes tatuajes, no te dan trabajo. Aquí no te dan chamba si tienes tatuajes. I was like, y si me los cubro con una manga larga? It's like, no. It's like, tienes tatuajes, no te van a agarrar, no te dan trabajo. I was like, all right, man. I was like, that was just 2 in a row. That was just too much. I was like, all right, calm down, relax. Too much stereotyping going on here. You know what I mean? Too much prejudice, whatever it is. Stereotyping, whatever you want to call it. So I was like, all right, cool. Then I see this Soriana, right? A grocery store. And I was like, I got grocery store experience. I'm your man. I used to work for a grocery store in Bakersfield for 5 years. I was the produce manager, I was the meat department manager, and I was a supervisor too. All with a fake ID, you know what I mean? So I was like, I was able to reach, different levels being undocumented, So I knew what I was capable of. Now that I'm in my home country and I'm legit and I got my ID and ain't nothing gonna stop me. You know what I mean? I was like, I was ready to fight, ready to go, ready to, take on the world, So I went to the Soriana, I asked for the manager, and the manager's like, ¿qué? And I was like, hey, me llamo Oscar, estoy buscando trabajo, tengo experiencia en carnicería y verdulería y abarrotes, He's like, pero aquí, en México o allá? And I was like, no, aquí en el otro lado. He's like, oh, en el otro lado, no, allá no cuenta la experiencia. Aquí tienes que empezar aquí desde cero. And I was like, all right, cool. Cool. All right, empiezo desde cero. ¿A dónde pongo mi aplicación? Dice, no, tienes que traer tu propia aplicación elaborada. And I was like, what? I gotta bring my own application. Usually employers hand out the application. But nah, here, chales, you bring your own application. You gotta find your own nickel to buy that piece of paper. Hey, you gotta work, right? And I was like, man, that's crazy. This is tough. I was like, man, they sure don't make it easy for me. So I was like, all right, cool. And then that was 3 in a row. I was like, man, I was tired of walking. So I just went back home, talked to my wife, tell her how my day was, talked to her, see how she was doing. Remember, she was still grieving. She had moved in with her best friend. And, she was just, a grown woman with 3 kids living at her best friend's house. You know what I mean? So I just imagined the struggle, the griefs, the mental fights that she had with herself. You know what I mean? So I was like, let me go home, let me touch base with my baby girl, see how she's doing, let me see if I can brighten up her day. So we're just talking. And she still had furniture from the apartment that we had. She had bunk beds, she had, all the stuff from the house. So I told her, hey babe, check it out. Sell all the stuff and come live with me. I don't have a job yet, but I will find a job. And she's like, all right, give me a couple more months. Let me sell the stuff. Let me save some money. I was like, that's cool. Do what you gotta do, baby girl. I got you. My mom linked up with people from church. We started networking. Went to church. We got hooked up with church. We went back to church, and some guy worked for Televista. He's like, hey man, he's like, I can get your job, man. You speak really good English. And I was like, that's the first time someone said something good about me. And I was like, for real? So I was like, well, yeah. I was like, I know how to speak English. It's like, man, look, come tomorrow. It's like, come to Televista and put my name on it. We're going to get your job. And I was like, cool. And I was like, but I don't know nothing about television. I was like, I don't know nothing about television. It's like, what? No, Televista is a call center. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Sounds like Televisa to me, So he comes, he gives me direction, tells me, hey, you're going to take this taxi. Once you get off this taxi, you're going to take another taxi, or you can just walk. So we decided to walk. Worst decision ever. I don't know how many times I almost tried to get ran over, to be honest with you. And so many cars would be honking at me. Beep, 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 beep. My brothers are like, because me and my brother we both went job hunting. My younger brother wasn't here yet. He was still in jail because he had some priors, and he was still in jail in Curry County. So anyways, but we're not bad hombres, all right? We're not. We just made some mistakes, but we're not bad hombres. But anyways, we decided to walk to Tel Vista, right? And like I said, my brother's like, man, if you hear cars honking, don't even turn around, because it's just taxi. And if you look at them, they're gonna stop, and you think they're gonna agarrar pasaje. And I was like, all right, cool. So I kept walking, but it was awkward. It was kind of hard not to turn. I heard someone honking, beep, beep, kept looking. I was like, in the States, if someone honks, it's because they know you or something, whatever. Here it was like there was a thing to do. Beep, 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 beep. There's the whole thing like you're in India. And I was like, oh my goodness, so loud. So anyways, I'm adjusting, all right? It was my second, third day, you know, my first week. Not even, it was like my first like couple weeks because I already had my paperwork. And I was ready to get a job, you know? So we go and apply. We take a test, just like any call center. You take a typing test, a speaking test, conversation test, you know, and critical thinking test. And then and then they have drug tests. But the drug test in Tel Vista, it was crazy. They draw blood from you and they do all types of tests about drugs. And I was like, really? All right, cool, whatever. They were the only ones that were gonna hire me during that time. So I was like, they're willing to take me with no experience. I don't know nothing about call centers. I have no idea. All they know is that they like that I speak English. And I was like, cool. So I get hooked up. They're like, hey, we got this campaign and it starts tomorrow. You're interested? And I was like, I got a job. Yeah, tomorrow. You want to come? I was like, sure. I was like, cool. My first campaign was sales. It was sales at Tel Vista. I was basically selling like internet, Wi-Fi, you know, direct TV, selling cable packages, selling internet. So, I was just selling packages to left and right, you know. It was easy. It was easy for me to sell to people. And that campaign was, you get your base pay and then you get commissions. So I was like, give me all the money. There was no tope. There was no limit because no one ever broke the limit. And I was there at my training, my first 2 weeks of training. I broke the best sales. And I was like, I'm dedicated. I was like, I'm eager. I was like, that's why I'm hungry. I was like, I don't care where I'm at. If I'm going to be selling candy at the corner, I'm going to be the best salesman in the corner store selling candy. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody going to tell me nothing. And I went with that attitude. I went with that attitude. If he can do it, I can do it. Why not? You know, why not me? Why is it that I can do it? What's wrong? Ain't nothing wrong with me. You know what I mean? I was scared. I was nervous, you know, but I was eager and I had that concrete foundation that I was going to make it. You know what I mean? I had that behind my head that I was going to make it. So here I am making commissions. Every 2 weeks I would get a big fat check and I was doing good living. And I told my wife, hey, baby girl, like, I think your boy got it. I think you should come down here now, baby girl, and come, keep me company. So, she does. A couple months later, it's not permanent yet, but she will stay, a week, 2 weeks, and then go back. 2 years later, my wife and I, my wife gets pregnant, with the whole going back and forth thing. My wife gets pregnant with our fifth son, and he was a miracle baby, by the way. I'm working, I'm getting good money, I'm getting substantial income, you know what I mean? So I told my wife, hey, it's time to move in here. I'm working at Tel Vista for about 1.5 years already. I was like, I think, we're ready to move on. Let's go ahead and get our own place, because during that time it was just, we're still at that 2-bedroom apartment that I got with my mom and my brothers, and my wife was just, coming back and forth, every week, staying here a week, staying 2 weeks. So we decided to make the move 2 years later after the whole back and forth things, and we decided to get our own apartment. We got a 3-bedroom apartment, and she moved in. She didn't move in right away because we still had to furnish the apartment, you know what I mean? So, but long story short, she moved in along the way. And that's how I started working. I started adapting myself. There were seasons in my life that, we didn't have no money to even buy tortillas, to be honest with you. There was times in my life that during the time that we had the 3-bedroom apartment because we were in the transition of, my wife moving permanent with me. I went through a whole struggle where I lost the good job at Tel Vista because the campaign had shut down, and I had to move to a different campaign, but the different campaign didn't pay any commissions, so it was just base pay, and my lifestyle was already, used to this much because, again, I was making good money, so I got used to that lifestyle, making that much money. So then we went back down to base pay, and it was kind of a little rough, you know what I mean? But, we all go through those seasons. And we just pushed through. During that time, I told my wife, I was like, let me take my son, my 1-year-old son. He was about 3 years old now. I was like, let me take care of him. You take care of the older 2 kids, and you do what you got to do. During that time, she's going to counseling. She's going to therapy for grieving because she never got that chance to go to therapy, go to counseling. So 3 years later, she's taking therapy, and I was like, yeah, finish your therapies first, and then we'll settle down here back in TJ, and meanwhile I can find something better. And this I did, I kept looking. I found this campaign, and I would start working with collections, and that's where, how I was able to get more commissions, working collections. I got my base pay, and then I got a commission off of that, and I stood through that. I stood at this first company that gave me the opportunity to try out collections again, because I guess I was really good at speaking with people over the phones and persuading them to buy things. So I was able to collect money as well, because at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do to pay your bills. Oh, look at me, the collector in me already coming out, right? but anyways, 2 years later, after working in that collection campaign, it shut down, and it opened another door to me working for this bail bond company, where I was actually making good commission. I was making commissions in dollars, so I was like, cool, my wife was already living here with me, and I was the only sole provider, and my baby girl was like, nah, baby, you enjoy it. You had a rough. I owe it to you. Stay home, be a stay-at-home mom. I know it's gonna be tough, but I owe it to you for, I want you to lounge. Don't worry about nothing, you know what I mean? We were able to buy a new car. We got car payments on another car, which we weren't used to, because again, that's dumb of me, of having a Mexican income and having American debt still, so we got a car, and we lost that car. We got repoed, unfortunately got repoed, but it's all good. It's all good in the hood. You take punches, and you take punches in life, and you get up and you keep going. You know what I mean? What you gonna do about it? You know what I mean? You're gonna sit down and stop. You gotta keep going. We take that we take that hit into the chin. We keep moving, and we have another car. And like I tell you, there's seasons for everything. You going through the season of good and up, ups and downs, and it's just how you handle it, your attitude towards it. So long story short, adapting to being deported, was a struggle at the beginning, because I got, stereotyped a lot. Even in the taxis, riding public transportation, I would speak English with my coworkers, because we will take public transportation. Well, not all of us, but the majority of us take public transportation, so we will speak English, and there will be times where they tell us, hey man, it's like, no hablen inglés aquí están en Mexico. I wouldn't argue. I'd be like, okay, it's cool, I'm sorry, whatever, I ain't gonna sit there and argue for what, you know what I mean? So anyways, we got that type of hate, and little by little, I started adapting, and I was like, you know what, I started like not caring no more. I started not caring if I spoke English or Spanish, or even if my Spanish was not that great. I was like, cool, I am who I am, and that's what I'm gonna speak. So, and then I started feeling more comfortable now, because at the call centers, the majority of us are deported, and we all come from the same neighborhood, the same walk of life, you know what I mean? Or I was able to relate to that crowd, I was able to relate, to my peers, and that's how I feel comfortable, you know what I mean? I feel comfortable. It's like my home away from home, because my home was still in Bakersfield, in my heart, I'm a country boy, you know what I mean? So yeah, so that's what went down. It was just trials and tribulations, and thank God now, the opportunity was presented to us to buy a house, and we don't know it all. You never gonna know everything. You only know about 80%, and the other 20% keeps on changing. You know what I mean? So I don't have all the answers. I just know that I'm living life every single day to the fullest. And thank God that I was given the opportunity to buy a house, me and the wife, and that's where we're at now. My wife is actually working, you know what I mean? She's pursuing a different career now, which more big ups for her, because again, she's trying to do something with her career, and it's never too late to start your own career. You know what I mean? No matter how old you are, no matter what stage in life you're in right now, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It's never too late to get up and start something. So I give props to my wife to actually start thinking about changing her career, you know what I mean, which I am really proud of her. And we had those talks already, and I always encourage my wife to persuade her dreams, and sky's the limit, you know what I mean. So that's where we're at now, you know what I mean. So I'm pushing harder than ever, and at the end of the day, it's all for the good and for the better, and this is what life is, staying humble and staying dangerous, So I hope you guys like this episode. Like I say, guys, this is back in Mary Lanes. I hope I didn't bore any of you guys, but I do appreciate you guys sticking through. Thanks you guys a lot Hopefully next week we have a new guest, and of course we're gonna start doing some interviews of what other people experiences were after being deported. You know what I mean? That'd be great, right? That'd be great to hear other people's experiences. So if you want to be part of the show, I welcome you. Send me an email to deportedintj@gmail.com. All right, I'll leave the links down below. You can check on the description, and you'll have the information there. All right, guys. So thank you guys very much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Stay Humble and Dangerous, the podcast. All right, take care.